pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll open the meeting at 6 o'clock. Could I please have a moment of silence for men and women in uniform? Thank you. Adjustments to the agenda, John?
We have an additional warrant, number 11, that I think Tracy put up there in front of you. And fire department, fire chief's report that wasn't in your packet.
So we had the warrant to item, consent item 6.
Yes.
That was that one called. 11. Thank you. Approve the minutes for August 6, 2018 regular meeting.
Chairman, I make a motion we approve the regular meeting minutes for August 6, 2018 with any corrections or additions.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Corrections, additions, comments? Ladies? Yep.
I wasn't here, but I was just questioning Cindy about, it says license, liquor license, and it says the shed. I didn't know if that was a mistype, because it looks like just this one was the one that was approved.
Liquor license for the shed?
Yeah, it looks like there's a missing motion.
Oh, that's just copy and paste mistake.
No worries.
I think this should read out of that.
Okay.
With that change, anything else? Dave? Connie? How about the young lady way over to the left? You all
I'm
set?
fine, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? One abstain. 4 and 4, 1 abstain. August 14th, executive session meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the executive session meeting of August 14, 2018 with any corrections or additions.
Second.
Questions, comments? All in favor? No opposed. Public to speak under non-agenda items. Nobody?
Can I ask for clarification? So I was on the agenda, so it's under downtown revitalization plan update.
Downtown revitalization is update on what we're doing revitalizing the town. I think what you're going to refer to is not under that. It would be public to speak.
Town park lighting.
No?
Town park lighting.
Yes.
Town park lighting.
You want to do, I know what you want to talk about. Yeah. Do you want to include it in that area,
It's
Jeff?
under number 8.
Hmm?
It's under number 8.
Downtown, oh, right there. There you are.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, not revitalization. Sure, we'll wait. Anybody else? Joe, before you sit down, you got anything you want to bring up? Okay, we're moving on then. Boards and committees.
You will
Yes,
see-
John.
At the last meeting, Johnny wanted to see minutes from the board's meetings, but almost all of them are posted online. So I don't know if you were aware of that, or if any of you not online would like to have them. I don't know if we need to copy them all for everybody if they're already online, so I think we need to.
I personally am okay with them online. Donnie has an issue with the internet service where he is, so.
So I can get it on my phone. So.
You got a big enough screen?
I do, actually.
You laugh, but I can't see mine.
I know, that's why.
Dave, you all set with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Ladies?
When you come in to sign the warrants, if you need hard copies, I would be happy to print them for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Larger size.
He goes good with that?
Yep.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah.
Donnie?
Chairman of the ordinance committee, and we just this evening handed the selectmen the warrant we have written for the marijuana retail store. And the process is if they approve it, then we send it down to the lawyers. And then we get it back and see what they have to say about what, and then we tweak it if they want it, and then probably a couple public hearings, and then probably have a vote eventually. Anyway, that's what that is.
Was there anything else in the ordinances that are gonna be coming up for everybody to talk about?
No, some housekeeping. That's about it, this AP warrant thing. And what else do we have? Tower? No. Can't remember.
No, special amusement, well,
Yeah,
or revision of
yeah,
the
we're
noise
still
ordinance.
working on that, kinda.
Yeah.
So,
All right,
anyway, we'll have 2 or 3 probably.
anybody else?
Still in public speak? They're out of that.
I even gave you your own shot
I
at
know,
it.
I thought of it.
How big a topic is it?
Oh, just about the airport.
Sorry, big guy, we're gonna have to wait. Yep.
Yes.
All right, anything else on the boards and committees? All right, moving on, consent items, disbursement warrants, AP warrants, 19, FY 19, 9, 10, and 11.
Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we approve AP warrant number 9 in the amount of $410,782.43.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? No opposed. Number 10.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we approve the AP warrant number 10 in the amount of $52,891.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 11.
And Mr. Chair, I make a motion we approve AP warrant number 11 in the amount of $17,873.91.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Consent agreement with town, between town and M&H Construction. John, you want to talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, I think Tom's also here in case you have any questions, but this situation's been going on for a while, and Tom's worked out an agreement with the owners. It's concerning some buffer land around the site up on the hill where they're putting it. And they seem okay with it, Tom seems okay with it, and it's the kind of thing that would require the selectman's signature to approve it. So that's why it's on here for you, and Tom can tell you, if you have any questions, he can go into more detail. Maybe Joe could also, since
Yeah,
he's
we'll,
here.
we'll go with Tom first. If we could hear your perspective, please.
So, we have the folks who live in the Grey Ghost subdivision that is close to the M&H garage. Kind of maybe short after I came on into the position, and they had concerns about the noise and the way the lot was being used. There's a lot between the garage and the Grey Ghost subdivision. That lot is actually part of the Grey Ghost subdivision. It's a buffer lot that M&H owns. And what happened was they slowly over the years encroached onto that lot and started using it for commercial purposes. So I determined it was basically a non-permitted use of the residential property for commercial purposes. And I've been working with Ken Haley and Joe, also the Grey Ghost community. We've come up with a pretty good solution here for the cleanup of the property and get back to residential.
Thank you. Do you got anything you want?
You hit it right on. We just got a little carried away with expanding there. Can't blame them for power.
That's what happens with a prosperous business. Any questions from the board?
Seems pretty thorough, clear cut. Do you need a motion to approve?
Yeah, I read it, and then later on sign, I believe you have the original, we'll give it to you for signature.
Before you make a motion, anything you want to say, Dave or Donnie? Billy?
This looks good to me.
Thank you.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agreement by and between M&H Logging and the town of Rangeley.
Second.
Any more discussion? Any more questions from the audience? All in favor? Approved, thank you. Nice, thanks, Joe. You all right, Carl?
Me? Oh, yeah.
Okay, buddy. Correspondence, federal rule broadband grant pilot program. Go ahead, John.
The notice about, I'm sorry, I guess I don't have it in my book. It's mostly FYI for your information, sent by MMA. And in case you wanted to respond to the federal government about $600 million from Congress to support a broadband expansion pilot program in areas with populations of 20,000 or less. And knowing that the town's been interested in trying to have broadband here, and it's quite expensive, and that's why it's before you, in case you want to send a letter of support for this, or whatever you want to do. I don't see how we cannot send a letter of support at least. Knowing that you need this, like a lot of places in Maine need this.
A lot of places in Rangeley need this.
I heard on the news that Maine is behind all of the rest of New England on having broadband, mostly because we have so many rural areas, so. New Hampshire's #1 in New England, and we're last, so.
Wow. Be nice if all the plantations wrote a letter as well, so collectively we're, really reinforcing that need, not just for the town of Rangeley, but for the plantations as well.
Just make sure that deadline is 5 p.m. on Monday, September 10th.
To 10.
And that is the date of your next selectmen's meeting. It's 3 weeks from tonight.
Okay.
How about we have a motion for a letter of support?
Second.
Yep.
I just have a really quick question, Steve. I noticed that it says so long as their current internet service does not exceed speeds of 10 megabytes per second. Do we know if we already exceed that?
I have no idea.
Depends where you are in the town. Some people do. So,
But most
in
people
town likely exceeds that, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of people don't have it at all, so.
I'd just be kind of cautious of the way.
So I'm just questioning what areas of support. Do you see where I'm headed with this question? I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah,
I don't see where you're headed with.
yeah,
Could you clarify for me? Tell me where you're headed? So
Well,
we make
I'm
sure we're on
asking if Rangeley, which is what you are intending to write a letter of support for, is the Rangeley, correct? Because you just said that the
going to
plantations
support the
are already
federal
Rangeley.
grant process to get.
Correct.
Part of Rangeley
Correct.
does not.
Hold on, let's just make sure we, yeah.
So that is my question. I mean, we intend to obviously send a letter of support for Rangeley, so I was asking if Rangeley as a whole exceeds this speed already.
Yeah, Laura, you had something you wanted to?
Part of Rangeley does exceed that speed, but part of Rangeley does not, as is the same in the plantations. Some people in the plantations exceed it, some don't get anything.
Laura, could you
And I'm-
describe why you have this knowledge and what group you're working with?
I'm on the Economic Development Committee, and we've been working with the county on the broadband, and I was also gonna say that I will work, I haven't seen this particular piece of paper, but I will work with the plantations, and I guess if it's Tom, on ensuring we get a collective letter, if that's hers.
Thank you. Cindy?
yeah, no, they just, that would be key. It's addressed to the municipal officials, so just make sure that you talk with the chairman of the assessors for each municipality and not not just the economic development group, because that's what they want, is feedback from municipal officials.
Also, you might want to put in there that there are spots in this town that don't have high speed at all.
Yeah.
So, and I bet if you averaged it out all with the ones that don't and the ones that do, it's going to be below 10, I bet you.
Yes, John?
Can I read this? Because you've obviously been dealing with it, but
Go ahead.
they'd like comments from the town on 3 issues. One is ways of evaluating a rural household's sufficient access to broadband, e-connectivity at speeds of 10 megabytes downstream and 1 megabyte upstream, and how broadband service affordability should be factored in. And 2, best options to verify speeds of broadband service provided to rural households. And 3, best leading indicators of the potential project benefits for rural industries such as agriculture, manufacturing, e-commerce, transportation, healthcare, and education using readily available public data. So I don't know if we have any of that discussion.
We have all of it because Franklin County just did a survey of the whole county and looked at a lot of that information. So I will work with the Franklin County people and make sure that we as a group are collectively answering it.
Okay, any way you can get us some information so we can, on these issues?
Well, I'll work with you too, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, yeah,
Okay.
but everyone has seen the plan, the survey,
It's on the website, what's the website?
for
Frank-
Greater Franklin Development.
Okay. I just
And
thought
yeah,
that
it
was
was
important.
presented to the selectmen when, before you were here, but, also. But I will
Billy,
make-
oh, I'm sorry.
Should I work with you on it?
Yeah, or
Okay.
if you have, some of that information already, written,
Yep,
it'd be helpful to have, to be able to write, an effective
exactly,
response, and maybe get a grant from them out of that $600 million.
exactly.
Billy?
I was just gonna ask Dave Burgess, is 10 to 1, is that good service for, I mean, how,
That's what they're having as a minimum requirement now.
can you upload into, I mean, it seems 10 to 1 isn't very good.
It's the low end.
Yes.
Can I just respond to that, because depending on who you talk to, not that just disagree with anybody, but if you talk with some of the consolidated communications, higher like representatives and other individuals through Exponet, a 3 megabyte service is adequate if your devices are either maintained, turned off, so you're not trying to compete with each other within your house. So, I mean, 10 obviously being sufficient definitely would be ideal, 10 and 1, but I mean, there are, at a 3 megabyte system, you can have plenty of opportunity to get through streaming TV to anything. Just put that out there.
There's no way you can get streaming TV.
Now with 10 megabytes.
No, that's
Even
right.
10 megabytes.
Yeah,
it's
I've
not
heard
gonna
that.
15 at the house, and I hardly get 2 or 3 at times,
Yeah.
even though it's advertised.
I mean, I get 25 now, but I'm just saying, through all my research, for what it's worth, I'm only one individual, but I'm speaking in regards to I had 3, and I was able to stream TV right here in town.
So let me ask this question of you. Is this something you think we should support?
Yes.
Okay. If there's any questions regarding not supporting it, that's what I'd like to hear. Otherwise, we're going to move forward with this. Feel good with that? Anything else? How about the board? Yes, yeah. Need a motion to, did you have one more thing?
No, I was just moving my bags out of me.
This is why it's not good for me at an auction. Is that good? Yeah, sold. Anything else? I need a motion. Letter of support. Do we have one? Who seconded? Donnie, all in favor? Thank you. You all set? All right. Old business, downtown revitalization plan update. Is there any update? Okay. Is that yes?
I have an update.
Okay, thank you.
Again, from the standpoint of the Wright Pierce, who's the consultant who is doing it, has actually been continuing to get surveys back and talk to various people in town, and they are presenting their results and their first recommendations on Wednesday, September 12th at 6 p.m.
Where?
At the school, but to be honest with you, I think we may not have reserved it yet, but that is,
That's what you're planning on, the multipurpose room at the school?
yes,
Thank you.
September
12th, Wednesday, September 12th. Press release should go out shortly.
Mrs. Reynolds, thank you for all your work with us. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Anything else? Any questions for us? Single stream recycling. Where is he? There you are.
I have minimally touched, obviously, the presentation to be coming in October through our last invoice that we had received, all the was quite a bit higher, at $120 a ton. That was represented by the gate price where we were out of contract for a month. So July went through without contract, and that's the mandatory 120 delivered fee, cents per ton. Through that conversation though with John and then talking with representatives at Casella, we were able to get a rebate, or a credit, excuse me, roughly $600+. But for August, the tonnage is going to be mid-93, $93 and change per ton for recycling. So it's kind of fluctuating at the mid-90s right now, but it doesn't look promising where we're headed. So.
John, you have anything you want to throw in?
Yeah, the main thing, reason I had that on there was you had, in your minutes, voted October 2nd for a hearing. And apparently the school wasn't available, so it's gonna be October 3rd,
Okay.
which is Wednesday, I believe. And, but I wanna thank Keith for calling him, because when I got the bill from Casella for July, it was $120 a ton. In June, it was $80. And we were concerned about this, so. I remembered reading in the contract that the contract expired June 30th, but it would stay in effect until a new contract was entered into. So I mentioned that to Keith, and he called them, and they came back and said the fee for July would have been $91.99 had they had a signed contract, which we didn't do till later in the month, if you remember. So they're gonna give us a rebate of $681.76. But just to show you where this is going, it went from 80 to 91.99, and then August is gonna be 93.76. It costs us $69 to landfill it in Norridgewock, and less transportation fee to go to Norridgewock than it is to go all the way to Auburn. So this is something you really need to discuss at your hearing. What are you gonna do? Because this is, to get a bill for $120 a ton when we could just throw it away at a landfill for, I mean, that's absurd. It's like double the cost almost.
How much a ton are we talking for last month?
We're averaging about 6 tons per swap.
For July, it was 24.34 tons. So average that on a monthly basis, probably similar every month. Unless you have all the month by month, I don't.
I can get month by month, I don't have it in front of me, obviously.
We're gonna need that for the public hearing, for sure.
Absolutely,
Yeah, that
absolutely.
information
We'll
needs to
have
be.
the whole year's information. Because it's really, it's a shame, Looks like each container, like 5.81 tons, 6.19 tons, 6.41 tons, so 5 or 6 tons, but the transportation cost is $4.25 a trip. So factor that into your tonnage on top of $120, I mean, like
Several tons.
Yeah. You have no alternative, really. I mean, I've got 20-ton trailers in Mexico, and you can, it's a lot more cost savings, but you don't want to spend $70,000 for a new 20-ton trailer, and then you still need a tractor to haul it, so. That's the best you can do, I think, given the tonnage. That factors in huge, $400 for 6 tons. Added to the 120, now you're looking at close to $200 a ton. And do you remember the cost to haul it to Norridgewock from, it's 3 something?
Correct.
Yeah, 300 something with waste management plus the tonnage. So, I mean, that's a huge
Matt
difference.
Riches.
Yeah, I think it was about 330.
330,
Yeah.
transportation.
Right.
And do you have any idea what the containers, how much tonnage we're talking about? In a container, I don't have that data with me, but
MSW is about 12 tons.
12 per container. average, depending upon the material, the liquid, all that, so. So it's significant cost for your solid waste.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you very much. Nice job. Anything from the board?
No, I mean, just that we're looking at even more costs with, Mansard not taking shingles and the OBW. I mean, that's
Right.
just going to, that's, we're not even gonna be able to compare.
And even clean brush now.
Yeah.
You last meeting had authorized $5 a ton to dispose of that, when it used to be free, it used to pay for itself.
Yeah.
Okay, single stream, well done, public, everybody? Board, thank you. EMS tower update.
Yeah, this agreement was signed by Tim back in April 16th, and I did check, this was something that was on your agenda, and it was approved that, so you all have all of this. But the issue was to get an update. Well, we got a signed copy back from Bell Atlantic Mobile Systems signed on August 3rd. So they definitely took a few months, and that's probably why they're behind. Apparently they're constructing one in Phillips right now, and they're behind on that. So when Keith pointed out to them that initially they told him it'd probably be the first quarter, when Keith told him this is Rangeley, you don't pour concrete in the first quarter, in January. Now they're talking April, May, probably as soon as the frost gets out. But in the agreement, there's no time frame for when they're actually
Okay.
gonna construct it. When this contract, which is now signed by both parties, when it takes effect, it's when they put into Tom for a building permit. That's when it takes effect and the clock starts ticking.
Okay.
So there's no time for when this is gonna actually.
John, could I get a copy of that, please?
Yeah, because you wouldn't have one.
I don't have
Everybody
it.
else should have a copy of this. Yeah, definitely.
Anything else? Any questions? Town park lighting. Wait a minute, excuse me. Loon Lake Road first. Loon Lake Road first.
That is, Mr. Beauregard gave you a letter at the last meeting, which has to do with the relocation of the road. And he asked that it be put on the next agenda. And I don't know that if you've all had a chance to read his article, or his letter. But a couple things that he attached to it was a letter from Mr. Bass, to Mr. Bass from our attorney, Mr. Langfield. And then the very next day, I gave you a copy of a letter from Paul Reynolds concerning this whole issue, so that's in there. But what amazes me, what seems to be the issue Mr. Beauregard's concerned about is our attorney writing in that letter to his attorney back in May of 2018. It is our opinion that Chapter 27 of the Rangeley Town Code would not apply to the proposed relocation, as the town is not being asked to accept a new road. The construction specifications in section 27.2.3 further apply only to new road. It is for this reason that amendment to chapter 27 is not being pursued.
I don't think we got this letter.
Sorry?
I don't think we got this letter.
You didn't have this letter?
He handed it out at the last meeting.
Oh, this was part of the
Oh, part
package
of
he
Mark's,
gave
yeah,
you,
yeah, I don't think that was in our prior packets, that's what.
Back in.
So, it seems like in his letter, his concern is the town doesn't have to build the road according to the town's own specifications. And I told him that's ridiculous. Why would we not build a town road according to our own specifications? Why the attorney seemed to indicate that we're exempt doesn't really make a lot of sense, but we obviously would not build a road.
All right, so let's put it in the minutes. Keith, is there any idea that we're not gonna do specifications in rebuilding this road?
No.
No. So it's indicated then from the town manager and from the interim road commissioner that we are, underlined profusely, going to build the town to the town specifications.
Absolutely, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But
So the difference is, he says in here, the difference is between the proposal design of the Loon Lake Road and Chapter 27 standards. We need to discuss these findings. I think we've discussed these findings. Is there any questions from the board regarding the findings that John came up with?
No, we have to make sure the CEO weighs in, though.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Any questions from the board regarding the discussion?
I guess I would just wonder why the town attorney thinks it's a good idea to not, anyway, I mean, if we're building the road to specs, then that's what's in the best interest of the town of Rangeley. That's what's good for the town of Rangeley.
Any comment on this, Tom?
It's the busiest road in
It
the,
makes sense to me that we would go to the town standards.
yeah.
Right, thank you. Donnie?
Yeah, I'm just saying, that's probably the second most used road in town except for Route 4. And we certainly don't want to underbuild this. I mean, we want it overbuilt if anything, because there's a lot of stuff going on that
Okay.
road.
Dave?
In Article V22, it says the new portion of Loon Lake Road shall be constructed according as recommended by a licensed engineer, but not need comply with specifications in Chapter 27. Does Chapter 27 have specifications to build a road that's usable year-round,
Chapter? Right.
that cannot be posted?
Well, yeah, I mean, put in new fill, what we've been doing, anytime we're rebuilding them, we're excavating the roads, we're putting in fabric,
Yeah, but
putting new
they're
gravel,
not necessarily-
patching, those
We have town roads that aren't open year-round.
Right.
So if the engineer builds it to spec so that that road can then be used year-round without being posted, it might exceed what we do as a town for our own roads.
Yes, possibly.
Well, there's no possibility about it. Keith, you can, and Joe can chime in. This road does not get posted in the wintertime, which makes it an attractive road because of the transfer station, because of the bulk going up there, because of traffic going to the school, et cetera, as well
It
as.
is
It does
posted.
get
It does get posted.
Uh-uh.
Well, last year, for some reason, I don't know what reason when they took.
First time ever then, because
First time
normally
ever.
it's
I don't
not.
know
It's
what-
a state aid road.
I don't know what it's all about, but last year was
You
the first
seen
year.
those
Who posted it last year, Keith?
It would have been Earl or Joe.
Yeah,
I thought it's posted every year.
it is posted.
Used to be, but not last year.
Yeah, last
Last
year
year's
was
the
great.
first time it wasn't.
Right, I don't know what the deal was.
It's always posted, and
And it
part of
was-
the discussion was to make that road a non-posted road so that we can access the industrial park, our own industrial park up past the
Don't
airport.
quote me on the year, but I think it was 98, 99, when I was on the board then. We accepted money from the state to bring it to the standards necessary so it does not get posted. For things like the propane station that's up there, they have to bring the supplies
No,
in.
it's been posted.
One more second. And tactical power was a big part of that because they were bringing in heavy tanks, heavy containers for that area. So to the airport, or excuse me, just beyond before, help me with Blue Flame, what's his name?
Sahagan?
No, Sahagan. Sahagan was bringing in the big tank in there, and then it got moved up to the transfer station. So unless something's changed between now and then, I think you'll find that that road should not be posted. Yes, sir.
The town applied for a grant to have that road be done, and a big argument for the grant was so that it would not be a posted road. So at least at that point in time, it was the understanding of the town that that was a posted road, and the reason that they wanted it rebuilt was so that it would not be a posted road.
Okay.
And the second thing I would say is, I would hope that the selectmen would understand exactly what the rule says about the roads being to town standards, given the redirection of that road before you say that it's going to be built to standards, because if it can be built to standards, great, but before you say that, I think you should really understand that, given the redirection and everything else, because there must be a reason that that was
Agreed.
brought up.
Agreed. I think it's the wishes of the board at this particular time, unless you change my mind here, is that we're expecting to meet those standards, but more than likely exceed. Because I don't think it needs to be posted, period, Paul. And that's where we should be going. Yes, John?
Yeah, I have the ordinance here. It says, for all street and road construction, the following standards all apply. And it goes from section 27, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, 3.7, 3.8, 3.9. And it has all the details about grades and, how much pavement and,
Have we actually seen an engineer drawing of the road, how it's gonna actually go? I've seen it's like a hand drawing that somebody did, but
Yeah, we have that.
with all the,
There's like 18 inches of base gravel and like 6 inches of surface.
How about we make that available for the next meeting and then just put our seal of approval on at that point? The complete standards and what we expect from that, get that from Tom and John, let them go with it.
Yeah.
What I think, I'm pretty sure, is that portion of the road is gonna be relocated, will be paid for and funded by this FAA grant.
Well, that's correct.
Because it has to be done to expand the runway, obviously. But I think, like Dave mentioned in that Article 22 that was put on the town warrant and then taken away apparently, because they found out the town didn't have to vote to discontinue it. I think the lawyer is just, our lawyer is just telling us that, the town doesn't have to comply with the specifications. But
somebody must have asked him.
why, I don't know, but it doesn't make any sense, because why would we
Yes.
not comply with our own
That could come up.
specifications? Especially on
That's
that
not gonna
level.
happen.
Yeah.
And that will be engineered by the engineers who are involved with the.
In the public hearing, number 3, I believe, it was shown the reroute of Route 4, because in the public hearing number 2, or between 2 and 3, there was a meeting where the town voted to go with the engineer's suggestion of the expansion farther on Route 4 and this dimension on on 1-4, and then is it 800 feet on 3-2? 800 feet on 3-2. That would require rerouting the road. Somebody used the word discontinue a section, and that slowed the process down. All that should have been said from the get-go was rerouting Loon Lake Road, not Route 2, but Loon Lake Road, around 3-2 end of the runway. But because discontinued was thrown in there, there was a big argument and a holler and hooting and so on. Lawyers got involved, and you can take it from there.
That's all designed,
Yeah, the road's not discontinued, it's rerouted.
Moving it.
Further proven by a number of subsequent meetings, I believe Cindy cleared it up really nicely one night by saying other places do this as a, I think your term was a matter of course, because this now is a contentious item. So, we all set with this? We'll come back the next meeting with the specifications.
One other thing pertinent to this is that we did apply for the Northern Border Grant. We did not receive that this year. We did get word on that. We did also get word from DOT, because we asked them for $500,000 and they're favorable to that. So, since this is all looking like 2020 would be probably the most likely time it would be done.
And that's from the airport back down to Route 4.
Right, down to the school, where the road goes to the school.
Back to the school part.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be,
What did you call this tarring process the other day? When they skim coated, you said it's called?
Forgive me, Coat.
Forgive me coat. You should enter that into the minutes. Go ahead, Cindy.
It's a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Forgive me, I don't have the money to dig it up.
So does the DOT amount for $500,000 cover what the Northern Border Grant would have covered? Or can we apply for the Northern Border Grant again next year?
Well, that's what I was gonna say, next year we'll apply again.
Okay.
So that's what I was leading up to it when I said unlikely it's gonna be anything till 2020.
Okay.
And DOT is favorable toward that, and they in fact are looking at 2020, when their money might be available. They're happy to do this because it's their road, and anytime a town is willing to participate,
Right.
they're all in favor, because there's less money they're eventually gonna have to come up with. So that's how that program works.
Anything else? We're not gonna move on that tonight.
There's nothing to move on there.
So let's just make sure we know what's coming next time. Standards are gonna be, we'll get a copy of what we're doing with that, correct? And also what the expectation is from your crew. Incidentally, Keith is the interim, thank you for pointing that out, taking care of the roads on the interim basis. I'd like to see you have it full-time, I just thought I'd put that out there. Doing a great job, Keith, thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have Town Park Lighting. We in our packet have a correspondence from Kathy Marquis Gerard. I have attached my original letter of complaint and added the town's form for registering complaints. Have also CC Tom Leathers, Code Enforcement Officer, for his information and potential appeal for Rangeley Town Code under Article 38. I understand there is a timeline for this process, so I wanted to ensure this was met. Thank you for your time. Look forward to finding a resolution. Kathy. John?
Well, if you look at, you know, when she reported that she had sent this, I was surprised because I hadn't seen it. And if you look at the address she sent it to, she sends it to rangeley.me.org. Well, there's an extra dot between Rangeley and ME, and that's why it would have been returned to you.
Yeah.
And since she had sent it to me and sent the CEO a copy, the code enforcement officer thought, well, it's the town manager's letter, and he just filed it without really. Because he was a copy.
Yeah.
And he's got enough to do. So that's why it didn't get looked at.
And that's what I said tonight, I thought an updated version, I took the original and just added some updates or changes that we made and speak on your behalf to say, you know, that was the first time that I realized that you hadn't gotten it. It doesn't make sense that you would have been able to speak to it, so.
Okay, we're gonna go one at a time. Try to keep this in some form assembled. All right, go ahead, John. Finish up.
So, I did get to finally see what it looked like, because it was 9:30 when we left the last meeting. And to see the lights, and to be perfectly honest, I was quite surprised. I think they look very good myself, and they're low lights, are much lower than the normal street lights we used to have down there. They shine straight down. I think it looks beautiful. Now, I did ask, I've been talking to Keith about it, and Keith said the Recreation Committee, Parks and Recs, they're going to be reviewing all that and giving you a recommendation from the Park and Rec Committee standpoint. And I don't know if any of you had had a chance to go down and look at it, but I went right after the meeting, and I think it's, I mean, different people had different views of things, obviously, but I thought it looked beautiful, and I didn't see it as being obtrusive at all. So.
Is it the Park and Rec Committee or the Park Commission?
Park Commission, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Park
Okay,
Commission.
yeah.
So that was, you know, I guess all I have to offer from it. A lot of what's in the letter seems like it's stuff that would have been thoroughly discussed, and what I understand was a whole lot of public hearings going for a very long time before a final decision was made on this thing. So I guess to me, in all due respect, Kathy, it's kind of like, you know, Johnny come lately when the project's all built, and it's not a whole lot we can do after the fact without some significant extra cost.
So I guess that's my concern. One of my big concerns was that there wasn't a due process and notification. And being the residential butter down there, that is has the most adversely impacted, there was no reach out. And I had tried getting minutes, I signed up for notifications. I came in front of the selectmen and spoke during our design with Park, raised concerns then. on at least 2 occasions and addressed it and been working with Joe and former town manager on the issues that were forthcoming. So while it feels, maybe from the newcomer perspective coming in, it feels from my perspective that there was no notification, there was opportunity that I took advantage of, and then in the end, things changed in the design that totally were going in a different direction than what was originally planned in those conversations that I was having with those individuals. So that's the change. Respectfully, when you stand in, we talk about view, when you stand in my bedroom, the light pushback in my house and the condo owners, second complaint from them, those are the things that we are concerned about. So while they may look great, that's why I wanted to be able to address the lighting specifically out of sort of isolating it from the rest of the complaint, because I think that's what, when I saw it as an agenda item, I assumed that, okay, so let's just keep it to the lights tonight and we'll go from there, because John hadn't seen the hard copy of that initial report. So that's
What
why.
I did find though is from the consulting firm Beta, I guess they had done a PowerPoint at some point for phase 2, and it concerns with relocation and undergrounding of electrical utilities in the park. But what fascinated me was a picture that shows 2 telephone poles with street lights on them. One is almost directly to the left of your house, which is no longer there, and now they've moved one pole further down toward the condominium units.
Yeah, and I don't know.
But there's no light on that.
Yes, I don't know what that
But
was
do you
stated.
see the 2 lights
Yeah.
there? And that, if the lights now are having an impact, I certainly would say those lights would have had an impact.
Well, this light was totally unoperational for a
That
number
wasn't
of years.
working?
It was not,
Okay,
yes.
well, it's there, that's what
Correct.
surprised
So
me to
in the
see.
conversation that we're having in the first design, and that I talked with the designer, at least on 3 occasions, those lines, that was gonna be buried. All those wires were
I
gonna be buried.
understand that was changed because
The
of
last minute, because of
$200,000.
budgetary overruns, yes. So that was the change, and so that was no notification on that. So all along, that was sort of the plan, and that was going to happen. So therefore, we did talk about surface lights and coming up. No, there wasn't really any finalization of that I saw in my conversations with them. So it was like a,
And I can probably add to that, that with both Joe and Tim leaving, and me coming in brand new, I mean, I can see where this, your concerns would have gotten miscommunicated.
and so my concern is that where we had the space, we now have surface lights, which I agree, are attractive looking. I'm gonna see how they survive with 4 or 5 feet of snow on top, and the snow machine is running along
Some of them will be.
in the wintertime. But those are sufficient, I think, that when you add the 14 footers and all 14 footers across, now you have lights over lights. And then in addition, you have the light on the top of the CMP that's even higher on the other end.
We went down and that was off.
That
so
was off when I went and
I'm
looked.
not sure if that's
Yeah.
been,
And then
Just
was the
broken,
bathhouse,
or-
was the bathhouse lights on?
the bathhouse, what we had discussed on the phone was those are in cans inside the soffit on the overhang.
Right.
And they should be shining straight down. And I felt all along, for security reasons, those should remain on. I don't see where those would shine any light your way, because it's, the retaining wall behind the bathhouse is gonna block most of any light coming from those inside the.
You have to stand on my porch, because remember, I'm up.
Yeah.
So it does illuminate that whole area. So my question was, that if the bathhouse is shut down at 5 o'clock and illuminating it, so my question on the vandalism or security purposes, what kind of data shows that that has been a challenge? I've not, we've been down there and live right there, and so not really seeing any of that. So I guess the
Not
question
so
is.
far, but on the old bathhouse, I don't know, was there ever any vandalism on the old, Keith might know.
The concern was them climbing up on the roof, was my understanding. This is what was reported out at one of the meetings, that there was some concerns about and then, by then the light wasn't on and hadn't been on for a while. So it was keeping the kids off the roof of the of the building. So both the condo owners and I discussed at that meeting, just what we're seeing and hearing down there. And what we're seeing was, you know, it really, we hadn't observed any, and we usually keep a pretty good eye on things, and the police department was coming around and checking, so.
We have installed a timer on those parking lot lights. And Keith, since the last meeting, has talked again to the electrician to adjust the timing on them. I spoke to one of the police officers, I haven't mentioned it to the chief, but that it's supposed to close at 10 o'clock. So they might want to include that in their patrolling around that time to make sure it's closed. But the other issue is, for us to enforce anything down there requires the proper signage, and that's before the park commission right now as to all the signs that might be necessary and where to locate them in one area that's not gonna be offensive. Because, you know, those kind of issues you have to have for the police to be able to do anything.
Right, and I think the park saying it's closed at such and such a time is there. I think with the bathhouse lights, one more comment on that, is that when it's illuminated, there's the assumption that they're open. So people go down there to use them, they're not open, so that's a great little alcove behind the house is what I've observed.
They're utilizing the space between the building and the embankment.
Right, yep. So I think.
Where there are no lights, because that area, there's no overhang.
Right, but it still illuminates around the section. So I guess my only other request, and you can see it in my letters, is that light that's the 14-footer, that's directly in front of me.
The last one in the series.
Relocating that one. It's just, it is redundant. The surface lights, I think, light up that whole area very well. And relocate it down at the landing where the fishermen can't see to come in the evening.
Yeah, we have talked about, there's no light down where the boat landing, the boat, ramp is gonna go. And I'm sure there's people that come in after dark down there trying to land their boat.
You all done?
Yes.
Cindy, if you can hang on one sec. Tom?
I was just gonna say that I did look into chapter 38 for the appeals part of your question, and that really just pertains to the planning board, myself, and the zoning board of appeals decisions, not the board of selectmen. And we were not really involved in the decisions made in the park.
All set? Cindy?
I thought we were gonna work in some lighting improvements with the dredging and the improvement of the boat ramp, but,
Yeah, we're talking about what we might be able to do, because there's
Yeah.
no power down that far either. So,
Right.
Keith's looking into solar lighting, which would certainly stay on long enough to get a boat
right,
pulled out of the water if they're out there after dark.
right.
That's one possibility, but the other thing we looked at was maybe replacing that one light with a smaller one that's on the walkway. Because those have a cone on them that shines that straight
The
down.
walkway lights, yeah,
The
they
walkway
shine
lights
straight
are
down.
Straight down, there's
Yeah.
no,
No, they're good.
So that, whether or not that could be, because I don't know how it was all wired in a series, if one light could be shut off, or maybe just the bulb can be unscrewed. I mean, if that could
Well,
be as
it's
simple as
still a
that.
visual. I mean, you've added the pole, and by the way, this pole right here that you're seeing
Yeah,
here,
that's gone.
yes, it is, but the thing is, now the parking is all the way over to
It's
here.
all the way down,
So this is
right.
my house facing the grass, so this was on the left corner. Now we've moved it over to the right, well, sort of not quite at the right corner, right at the end of Fuller Street. So, and it's higher, so it's just a little deceiving on this picture to see where that has changed.
Yeah, I happen to notice two of them, which there's no light on either one of those now, because those poles aren't there, and the one pole they replaced, which runs the power to your house, has no street light on it.
Right, and this is because they buried this one, so the condo power has been buried. So that pole just services mine and the telephone line for the condos, which actually was buried. And once they get beyond that pole, so they're buried from there and they're buried from there. So I guess, again, moving that one for visual would be less of an impact. I have the parking spaces in front of me, and I just monitor that to make sure that it's not gonna be too dark there. It's not, it's, you know, while they point down,
I don't believe
it's.
it'd be too dark if that one lamp was missing. When I heard.
Can I just chime in, Kathy? One thing I don't wanna do is go away without all your questions answered, but it seems to me, since we're gonna be getting a recommendation from the Park Commission on how all of this has come together and what other changes need to be made potentially, your next step would be the Park Commission to talk about moving that 14-footer, so that they could bring that recommendation to us. And then obviously be here for that to see what the discussion is and so on. But you could have some impact with them in terms of that location, and then maybe some other ancillary things that are associated with your complaints. Or the other thing we can do is just say we think it's nice and we gotta move on. I wanna give you that opportunity.
And I hesitate because I know that the people have been down who are on that, who weren't aware of those changes being made.
Mhm.
So I'm a little bit, I know I'm after the fact, it feels like, but what I'm saying is there haven't been information going out to some key people here. And mine's not excluded, but I think that's the question is, we're doing things after the fact because the information wasn't.
Well, let me address that. I attended most of the selectmen's meetings for close to a year now. And I listened to Ken Haley come into the Board of Selectmen's meeting from this building to Aquasic, to the firehouse, to back into this room, giving us an extraordinary amount of updates and detail as to how things were progressing. So to suggest that we weren't informed, or the previous board wasn't informed, I think is a bit of a misnomer.
No, I'm talking about the Park Commission.
No, I understand that, but right now, the step, as I see it, and I could be wrong, the step I see is, it was told to us a few minutes ago that the Park Commission will be bringing us an update on what they think some changes need to be. To me, that's your next step, unless you'd like us to make some sort of decree this evening based upon what we've seen for a whole year.
Probably not based on, it's so fine. So what's the meeting time?
You're gonna have to talk with John and the town office about that.
Is it the Thursday at 6 o'clock?
I don't know. Good luck, John. I don't know when their meetings are, when they're gonna bring it to us.
It's the third Thursday at 6 o'clock.
So this Thursday?
No, we just met last Thursday.
Oh, we got Monday, Tuesday.
Can we make sure that Miss Kathy Marquis Gerard
The
can
20th?
we make sure she has an opportunity to talk with them? Is that possible?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Everybody in agreement with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's what they're there, is to get feedback. I think the fact that timers have been put on is a great compromise. And we got a lot of feedback from the abutters, not just from the condo owners, but the Catholic Church attended our hearings, and and folks that live close to the park that are on Lake Street as well. It was well attended by the abutters.
One other clarification I have to make, just so that you can understand the way we have to operate. We're operating on your concerns, nobody else's. There's no other signature on this but yours. I know you've talked to them, but we gotta just talk about what you've done and say.
Well, I would have to say because I'm the one that's most adverse.
That's all right, I understand.
I figured
I understand,
we need to
but-
formalize it because
Right.
conversations that were happening really weren't.
Yep.
I mean, that's why I formalized
Joe?
it.
Yeah, I just wondered if it'd be possible to put one of the shot lights, just take the tall one down and put the shot one there. Just don't know what the cost of that.
Yeah,
One
the
light.
light fixture itself, I believe, was what, $1,000 for the short one?
The short ones are over 1,000.
Oh, I had no idea.
Well, let the Park Commission come back with a recommendation for us, and hopefully we'll get everybody's questions
Ultimately, the hardest part on top of that, the hard part.
addressed. And maybe there are some compromises, bring the electrician in.
Shipping is the hardest part. Time consuming, it takes anywhere from 8 to 14 weeks to get done.
Yeah, there should be a cost attached to any modifications, because we ran on a tight budget with this, and M&H worked hard to keep this project under budget,
Yep.
and with a very attractive result, so any suggested modifications should have a dollar sign attached.
So noted, thank you, Cindy. Anybody else? Kathy, you all set? Okay, John, everybody, good? Thank you. New business, discussion to create a subcommittee to review all selectmen policies. This is instituted by me, and I'm looking for any or all or a couple of Board of Selectmen members to work with me and John on going over our current policies and see if there's something that we need to upgrade, change, and reinstitute a book that includes that after we agree upon the changes. Yes, Cindy?
The whole selectman binder probably ought to be looked at, the whole new selectman binder.
Now we're gonna go policies first, and then we'll go back at the rest of the binder.
Yeah, that, I don't think.
If you don't mind, I don't wanna break this up, so we're not
Yeah,
stretching this thing out months and months
Yeah.
and months.
it's all within the binder,
I know,
yeah.
I know.
The binder is all policy anyway, right?
Basically.
No,
Or their ordinance.
It's a code, it's, new selectman handbook, you know, it's your town manager contract, any contracts that are associated with the Board of Selectmen.
So but mostly policies, it's all the selectmen policies
Yeah.
is what.
We are going, my goal is to identify the policies, review them, bring it back to changes that the subcommittee recommends, talk about it, and then move it.
Yeah.
So everything is up to date, there's no future questions about awareness, which I know happens, and I'm trying to eliminate that, so we'll start with policies.
Sounds good.
Is everybody okay? Now, who's gonna help me?
I'll help you, Steve.
1, 2, 3. Yes, got your hand up.
I've got enough to do with the ordinance.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you got 4 of us. Just, it's easy to exclude Donnie, the rest of us are gonna help.
Not a problem.
I'll call you with the next meeting, with the first meeting date, okay?
Let's call the town clerk, because we have to post a selectmen's meeting when 3 or more of you meet. It makes it an official selectmen's meeting, and the public needs to know.
I think you guys can handle it without me. I got the ordinance committee stuff.
And we have to notify, what, 48 hours?
Now, let's change this then. Cindy, why don't you help me?
3 days.
And then we'll
Okay.
bring it to the board.
Okay,
And then we'll change the demographics of the next party or two to talk about any other ancillary issues that are associated with our booklet. So it'll just be Cindy and I, and then we'll bring it to the board. That way we don't have to go through that. I don't want any ideas of we're doing something the wrong
You
way.
can meet anywhere you like,
Exactly.
anytime you
Yeah.
want.
And it'll be, all
Charges.
right, I'll be talking. Trackless sidewalk
Couldn't
plow.
resist.
I'm assuming that's gonna be you, Keith.
Yes, sir. So, brief, obviously our current MT trackless sidewalk tractor is aging. Mechanically,
Picture of it right there. You can pass it around.
it's been definitely worked on many times to where one mechanic does a great job in either fabricating or getting parts fabricated through other local contractors. The proposal in front of you is for a brand new MT7, which is currently on hold for us until November. They are limited in the state right now. Next, if we don't act upon this coming unit, the next one wouldn't come until January, February, throughout the winter. Not that our current one wouldn't necessarily make it, but it's, again, it's aging. So the proposal was in the budget process, $140,000 roughly in a lease, 3-year lease program. So presented to you is a quote for the unit, which will come with a brand new sander for $129,900, or trade-in value on our current machine is $6,000, which represents the second quote for $123,000, etc. Through conversation with the highway foreman, we have a couple options we'd like to pursue instead. Is one, preferably act upon this new unit as was approved through the budget, and keep the current unit as a backup and or to utilize it more in the flail mowing on the rougher jobs that we'd have to do with that. HP Fairfield, this is through, if they took it, it would go with the tractor with the old snow blower for $6,000. If that wasn't an option to you in regards to trade-in or us keeping it, we'd like to pursue putting it out to bid to other communities for roughly the same amount, helping somebody, allow us to help somebody rather than HP profit necessarily off the trade.
So your preferable one is to keep it as a backup,
Correct.
right?
It does have useful life in it. The motor was replaced 7 years ago, as I understand. It has new components, but overall, the structural portions of it are, it's aging, it's wearing, its pins are getting worn out, and so on.
20 years old.
20 years old, with our mechanic, it's pretty good.
We have the money in the budget? How are we gonna pay for it?
Money was, in the proposal of the budget, right now we're pursuing lease options through local banks. I haven't done the figures yet, so today was just kind of a informational meeting rather than a presentation to act now. We have a little bit of time, but they will hold it until November, for sure.
So sometimes I ask questions I know the answer to, just so we can get the public completely informed here. We have budgeted the money,
For capital,
Is it in the
so you want to take it out of
plan?
capital. That's where I'm trying to get at. Yeah,
correct.
yeah. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I just want to get everybody
It's
up to
relevant.
speed on where we are here.
Absolutely.
Okay, Sydney, you had a question?
Go ahead, Ms. Shelley.
Is this is the same one that we were replacing because we were putting so much on maintenance? Is that correct?
Correct, so this would be a brand new unit. Every attachment we have currently will mount onto this. So nothing else needs to be changed except a new sander based on the condition of that one, and we'd have a brand new unit. So they'd be interchangeable, not necessarily interchangeable parts, but our attachments will work. So there's no fees associated with buying a different brand unit and having to potentially pursue new attachments. We bought the new snow blower last year, so if that answers your question.
That's what we bought okay, I'm like, we knew we bought
New
something.
snow blower.
Snow blower, okay.
Just that snow blower for this, was, I think $16,000, and that's like a year or two old.
Right, yeah, I remember it being a chunk of change.
That's one of the reasons you have to go with the same machine, you can't go to elsewhere, there's not a whole lot of manufacturers for sidewalk plows either, but we have a flail mower, which roadside, it's an arm that sticks out the side that, can take out, alders that might be an inch or two thick even, but it does the roadside mowing. That in itself, to me, is justification for keeping the unit, because if you still have a year or two left on that, just using it as a flail mower in the summertime for doing the roadside brush cleanup, you're gonna actually extend the life of the new one. Given what these things cost,
Yeah,
I mean, if you can buy a year extra on a brand new one, just because you're using, an old one that doesn't have a lot of life left in it, but still has some life left in it, and we can still use it as a backup for another winter too.
Because new equipment has a lot of electronics on it, and if it goes down, it gives us an opportunity to have something to still be able to use, but not use every storm.
yeah.
And if you use it as a flame mower, you're not beating the heck out of the new one doing that.
And if you used it, and you got 2 years or even 3 years, just using it for that, look at what you'd save in the long run. 6,000 isn't a lot of money for a piece of equipment that costs 130.
Shelley?
But is it gonna be cost effective with all the repairs? That's the only,
No, we wouldn't be using it full time,
okay,
which wouldn't necessitate making the repairs. You
okay,
use it until it's done,
right,
and then we get rid of it.
right.
So you might have to change the oil, filters, things like that, but
Right.
you're not using it, you're only gonna use it sporadically.
The repair cost is more if we're gonna use it every day.
Right,
doing the sidewalks every single day.
right, but if you don't use it, sometimes what happens is it just deteriorates sitting there.
Now move
And do
on.
we have the room for it?
We have the room for it?
Yeah, do we have room
I
for
don't
it?
know.
We have
I
plenty of
haven't
I
fully
keep
seen the
saying-
inside of the garage.
Every day we're moving, like running out of room, but.
Do I have to comment on that right now?
No,
I'm not building
because
addition.
Keith's like, I'm making room.
Yo,
Well, I'm gonna make room, but we need a lot more room than just for
They have
this.
different options on the tires for them. You can get a little bit wider tire, they don't want to get too wide, so you can't get where you're going, because they'll save on the sidewalks a lot, because that thing's pretty heavy. If you go out first thing before the ground's froze, your sidewalk's gonna be.
You see the
So
road.
for current, obviously based on our current unit, and I haven't run over the complete specs of the new unit, obviously still fits within the parameters of our sidewalk, and as our current rig, it has the ability to
Wider,
dump wider tires, wider tires or double up on your tires.
or whatever, do something to save the sidewalks.
Yeah.
Plus before Keith was road foreman, I set my living room, and it'd be snowing so hard, you can't see a hand in front of my face, and it'd be going up and down my street. And it's, should wait till the storm's over, instead of just wearing it out doing nothing. That was before Keith was, I mean, I sit there and watch that thing up and down, oh my God.
yeah, all right. What do you want from us on this one?
I recommend you keep the old one and use it as a backup and use it for summer mowing until it dies, and then you gain something. It's not, you know, to me, it's a worthwhile investment to not let it go for $6,000.
And we're gonna need to identify in the motion to take this out of,
Well, the two options that I put in your packet, one is $129,000 for the new one, and one is $123,900. The $129,900 or $123,900, which includes the $6,000 trade-in. Well, I would recommend we buy the $129,000 for $129,900 without a trade-in, the new trackless MT7 sidewalk truck.
But we're actually looking at taking a lease, right, so we're not paying $130,000.
Correct, the proposal through the capital request was, as it's written, is a 3-year lease.
So we will,
Did some investigation through HP, they don't offer a lease program. I spoke with Joe, who referred me back to HP. But of course, now that recollection of the whole conversation for him was spotty. So now what we're doing now is we're utilizing the local financial opportunities and trying to get proper numbers and then present you with that option next.
Okay. Because we have until November. They're
Right.
holding it for us
They will
until
hold it until
November 1.
November.
so we'll do the banking part of it. Now, if you approve this, and we'll go forward and have that ready for you at a later meeting.
So we can approve the purchase of this unit pending our financing options.
That would work.
And
Yeah,
keeping
second.
the old unit.
any more discussion on that? The motion is approve the $129,900 for the trackless MT7 pending financial arrangements are agreed upon. Moved and seconded, all in favor? So moved. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
Thanks, Keith.
Side-by-side quotes. Hi, John.
This is interesting. Very interesting, actually. So I wanted to make sure that this is something that at least 3 of our local dealers can provide. We purchased the new John Deere tractor for the sewer treatment plant, which was approved in the budget. And they offered us a trade-in of $9,500 for the old one. So then, since Keith had also put in the budget for a new side-by-side, which otherwise known like as a Gator, I guess John Deere has a Gator, he said he would give us an even trade, which sounded like, great, let's just take the trade. So then, he was gonna give us $9,500 trade-in, but then he's given us a quote for the Gator at $10,989. So it looks like almost an $11,000 value instead of the $9,500. Okay, but then we checked locally and all three of our, we got 3 quotes for you. The lowest is $92.66.95, which is same machine. Got another one for $14,170, which is the high bid. And then we got another one for $91.34 for a 2-seater plus $599 for the windshield and roof. And a 3-seater would be $93.99 plus $599. So that's from, and then the one from John Deere for $10,989. So what's interesting is that he was gonna give us $9,500, and we've got quotes, 2 quotes for around, you know, $192, $194, which is around the $9,500, but it looks like he's given us an $11,000 value for the same piece of equipment. So I think both Keith and I would recommend that you take the low bid from a local supplier, which would be $92.66.95 from Boss Power Equipment. And that would give us what we specified, you know, at what would be the lowest price. And then John Deere would still have to send us a check for $9,500 for the office. Although we might want to push him for, well, we want a check for $10,999 would be more to our liking. I want you to realize it's $9,500 is what they initially told us. So if we can get $10,989, we'll try. I don't think that's gonna happen. So our recommendation is to go with the Boss Power Equipment bid of 92, it's not a bid, it's a quote, 92.66.95, and we did want to make sure everybody local had a chance to quote.
Question.
Go ahead.
Warranty. Apples and apples and apples on these 3 of these?
I don't know.
I honestly cannot speak on that. I don't recall all of the warranties, so I apologize for that.
Okay.
Well, I got a couple questions. Is this a 2-seater you're looking for?
Correct.
Okay, so you want to go with 92.66.95. And before any of you get all wound up that I'm trying to push it one way or another, 2-seater for 2-seater, Aquasic Marine is 91.34.
Without.
Plus $600 for the windshield.
Yeah.
And roof. And roof.
Would it add the
Okay,
windshield?
so that's why apples to apples. We better, I'm not prepared to vote on this unless we know exactly that we're getting. I appreciate you don't have all the numbers in your head, but there's some variables in here, quick perusal, that says it's not apples to apples. There's a lot of, I mean, they're throwing in wind winches and voltage regulators and all this other
We
stuff.
specified the windshield assembly and the winch.
Windshield winch with preferably a front and rear mount, and it had to also be four-wheel drive in a 500cc range. Obviously, with Rev It Up, they don't offer, Yamaha does not make a 500cc unit, 700 and above. So that's obviously a huge differential in price on their end. And again, in all fairness, I did not bring anything with me in warranty regards, and I can't sit here and rattle something off to you, so.
Yep, yep.
Johnny can potentially speak on Polaris regards to it.
You need this tonight, or can we, can you wind this down and,
All I'm leery of is the potential and some of those, one quote in regards to lost power. I don't know how long some of those discounts are good for.
30 days.
Discount.
I can say, on our and Bosco both, there should be a 6-month warranty, but I don't know if the Gator is.
What's the warranty?
On Boss's product and my product, both is usually a 6-month warranty.
6 months.
But I do not know on John Deere, but I can speak comfortably both on mine and Boss's. I don't know what John Deere is.
So you sent out what you wanted on all these, to all three of these?
I actually visited the facilities, correct? And with the same condition.
Any more questions from the board?
No?
Yeah, sir. Paul?
Just to clarify, that at the beginning, you mentioned, John, that it was a trade-in value that you received, and you're not actually trading it in now, so are you gonna actually are they gonna pay you cash for that?
Yeah, that was
Used
the,
machine?
yeah, the quote for that was $9,500.
Correct.
As a
Without
trade-in?
it, not without a trade-in, without buying
And
something?
it only came up when he delivered the new one, that we were talking about, the Gator, and he said, yeah, even trade, we'll get a Gator. So initially that sounded, wow, that's great. But then when we checked around, they're all equivalent.
You had another thing, Keith?
I just wanted to clear up the trade-in value. So initially, through the quote process for the John Deere tractor, the idea was to have the old tractor as a trade-in. So there was an original number which was proposed through the budget process. The new tractor, price is essentially the same as what was proposed, it's really close, it's that number. But in the paperwork, we realized after it was signed that they didn't account for the trade-in, which came to the point of, we'll give you the $900. We'll buy it from you, the $900. So that's what we quoted you through that trade-in process.
What's your disposition, folks?
Well, considering the two low bids, Johnny comfortably states both have a 6-month warranty. We're comparing apples to apples on that piece. I say we go with the town manager's recommendation and go with Boss Power Equipment.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and second. Any more discussion from the board? All set? All those in favor of purchasing Boss Power Equipment for $9,266.95? On one opposed. My opposition is because couple of things. One, it's a casting no dispersions on you, Keith, or John, or anybody involved, but I think it's a skinny criterion, number one. And there was a whole lot more thrown at it from all different regards. I think when you got this back, you could have taken a look at it and going, we've got to maybe look at, and we're doing business locally, this one can do this, give them a call, bid them out, make them move towards you, fill in the blanks. That's just what I would prefer to everybody do in the future, but that's just me. All right, next. Town manager reports, department head updates.
Just have a notice from the Maine Municipal Workers' Comp Fund concerning dividends. The town received a check for $4,447 in the mail today. And so we received a 5% dividend on our property and casualty insurance policy through them for $2,570, and a workers' comp dividend for $1,877. So $4,447 dividend because we're a member in both of those insurance programs. So that's the one benefit of being a member of Maine Municipal and being included in their insurance programs. Every year the board votes when they have surpluses to give back to the town, to our members, in the form of dividends. So usually every year we get something. So pretty good program. You wouldn't get that with a private insurance carrier. That's their profit.
They pocket it, yeah.
I did want to report that to you, and on Friday, I was notified that Wednesday, we might have to go back to Augusta, but I got word today that that's not until next Thursday. Next Thursday, the legislature's reconvening, so I'll be there at least Thursday. And this coming Thursday, we have 6 interviews scheduled to fill the town manager position, starting at 9:30 to last one scheduled for 4:30, I believe. So it's gonna be all day.
Thank you. I mentioned this earlier, we've got reports from the police, we've got reports from the code enforcement officer, and from Keith, Public Services. I do mean it when I say, Keith, you're doing a fabulous job, as is Tom and others. Police and fire as well. When you see Chief French, thank him, he saved somebody's life recently. Without him, the man might not have made it. And it's pretty impressive when you hear these sorts of things. Those of you who've worked in EMS and have been on the scene of somebody who's losing their life, it's always gratifying to see them take that gasp of air and say thank you, and so on. So, wonderful job by all involved, and especially Chief French. Any other comments on that? How about the calendar? Anything?
All in your.
Yeah, it is. Anything you want to comment on?
No?
Public hearings, October 3rd, we'll reiterate again, the single sort. Anything under other business?
Just a reminder, I believe tomorrow, the public hearing on the water company. Rate increase.
Yep. When is that
I
again?
think it's tomorrow.
Oh, yeah,
Is
right.
that tomorrow, Keith?
Yes.
Correct, tomorrow night,
At your office?
under Croft of the water district.
What time is it?
5:30?
5:30.
5:30.
I think it's between 5 and 5:30.
Okay, 5:30. Just to reiterate, that's to talk about the new water rate structure and how it impacts all those involved and also the town relative to fire hydrant rentals and so on. Select Board Communications. Cindy?
I just had, I had a citizen, I just haven't had a chance to call you, John, that complained about dogs in the park not being leashed, and dogs being present down by the beach area. Someone that goes through the park every day, and he stopped me coming out of the post office the other day and said he just, would like the selectmen to know, so I don't know. The signage, I'm sure, I don't know what's left.
We have a no dog policy down there? No dogs allowed?
Yeah, each area, not the dog.
Yeah, so if you could let the police know, I don't know if we have lifeguards readily and present or whatnot, but just this person asked that I speak to that.
Thank you. Shelley?
Relay that.
What's up?
Donnie? Dave? Okay, I've got one thing. I've been contacted by a group of people who are concerned about cell phone coverage in the area. Mr. Kafori spoke to me recently about increasing the elevation of the tower on Ball Mountain to accommodate more cell phone coverage, get better coverage for folks, well, in the entire region, no specific area, but in the entire region. Trees have grown up. The tower is now, the trees are including some of the capabilities of getting cell phone coverage up. So he wanted us to know that there is some negotiations with the powers that be, if you will. I can't identify them all here right this minute. But he is looking for a letter of support from the Board of Selectmen as this goes in through the process to get this tower and the elevation up in the air. It does include something with the state, because it's on state land, and with the companies involved and so on. So think it over, and I will ask them as this progresses to bring this to our attention, so it's on the agenda and we get an opportunity to bring it to the public as well and discuss it. If you have any comments about that, address Mr. Kafori or myself. or any of the board members for that matter, will try to address it. Anything else? Executive session, we don't have one tonight, do we?
No.
How about a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, town employees, you do a wonderful job. All in favor? Thank you for mentioning that.